Screen share. Okay, here we go. So over here, a little bit more close to the right than the left, let's go ahead and create a vertical line. And it's okay for it to go above the vanishing point, above the horizon line. Let's just do that. We haven't done that. Let's do that. Okay. Then go ahead and connect your orthogonals. So then we're going to go vertical line back here and just kind of try your best to mimic sort of like my distances, but that doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Go ahead and do that. Do that. Do that. Do that. Then in that back corner, go ahead and mark your back corner. I'll tell you, I've been using the sketchbook on the desktop to do all this for the past few classes, and I think it's a bit easier. Okay, now on the next, just make a new layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and just change my color. And I'm going to do good old corner to corner here. Corner to corner. And then on this back side, we're going to do corner to corner. That should feel so natural to you now. Like you should be like, do we have to do this again? Okay, it should be very, very much in muscle memory, and you should remember the chronology of the steps by now. So then turn your perspective guide back on and go ahead and do your vertical line and your vertical line. I'm just going to go ahead and make a new layer. I'm going to zoom in so that y'all can see and change my color. Okay. And what I'm going to do is what we've done before. We're going to continue to divide this space. I'm going to use my draw tool with the straight line tool. I'm going to go corner to corner like that. Vertical line, just like that.
Sorry, could you show me again? How did you do like the back portion of it, like the part, the behind part?
Of course. Tell me when to stop.
Yeah, there.
Okay. So what you're going to do is the first thing, it's basically, you just have to remember it's very much just the same principle. Okay. So like if you could do it in the front, you could do it in the back. So orthogonal from the top corner to the left, orthogonal on the other side. And you can do this out of order. It doesn't have to be in this order. And then another one to the right, another one to the left.
Okay. All right. I was just a little confused.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, and then vertical line where they intersect.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next thing we did was we found the center of that side, the center of that side. Then we found the vertical axis to create two halves. Then we went ahead and found the vertical axis back there to create two quarters.
Cool. Thanks.
Mhm. Okay. Ha ha ha. So now what we're going to do is, again, I'm just going to make a new layer. They're free. They're easy to use. I like to do that. I want to pick a different color. Now I'm going to go back here. I'm going to find the vertical center back here. Okay. So now I've got 2/8, a quarter, and a half. Now I'm going to get some sort of interesting things that happen because the top section of our drawing is close to the horizon line or above the horizon line. Okay, but that's okay. That's just perspective. That's the nature of perspective. So what I'm going to do is where this intersection occurs here, I hope it's going to let me here. It should. I'm going to draw an orthogonal over to that side all the way down. That's going to head off to my vanishing point.
Are you in
Right.
the center of your most recently drawn X?
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
where
and
you. That's where you pulled the orthogonal back from the. Yeah, that point, right? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the reason I did that is because I want to show you, you know, like kind of what we're going to be focusing on. So from that point, so we got the orthogonal going that way, and then from that point, we're going to draw up here and then copy that one. So I drew up here, copied this one, okay? And so then this back edge I need back there. That's kind of what we just created, right? We just created this space. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do it on the other side in a minute, but we're now just we're kind of going to go through here, and there's lots of different ways to do this, but this is just kind of what we're doing. We're doing it this way. So now we're going to come down here. So now we have this sort of space here that we've created. This is here, this, this, and this. So if I turn all this off, we can see that kind of where what I'm starting to create there, it basically looks like a little step. Okay, and that's good because we're making some stairs. Okay. So now the next thing that we're gonna turn this one back on so we can see it. And so now we've got an eighth. So this is an eighth. This is a quarter, right? Then this is a half. Okay. And so we're going to do like, let's do this. Let's do like, we're going to do like a stair at the top, and it's going to come down. And then there's going to be kind of like a landing, like a flat landing, and then a stair. So here we go. We need this line here. Here. And here. Okay. So if we turned all that off, we can see, okay, now I've got that. And then on my layer that I have this on, just to kind of keep things cleaner, I can turn those off because I don't need them. I need to decide where that sort of next stair is going to be. Okay, so if I find the center of the space here, then we could see like, all right, well, we could have like kind of a longer landing there. Or if I went in the middle, it'd be like more of like a step. So imagine what I'm making here is like this. Imagine what I'm making here with you is like this. You know, if I did regular steps, they would kind of look like this, right? Instead, I'm going to work with you to make this. Okay. And we're going to use this here as that place. All right. So we've already done this bit. We've already done this bit. And now we need to decide here, like how long is that going to be? It could go to here. It could go to here. Okay. We don't want to pull it like sort of right here because then it's just going to be the same size as the other stairs. And I want like a longer stair there. I want like a longer landing. Okay. So what I'm going to do, go back to this part. I have to go all the way through here. Okay. Is I'm going to use my vertical line right there through the center of the space to create my next, like the landing part of these stairs. Okay. Then the next part's kind of easy. If I just pull an orthogonal there through the center, that's going to give me my next stair. We could even also, we could find the center space, find the center of that, and go there, and do like an extra step. Let's do that. Let's do that. That's going to give us more stairs. So I'm here. Okay. So after I came through here, I'm going to come down here all the way until the center of this bottom section. I can find that by finding that vertical axis. And then I can place an orthogonal there. I can go corner to corner here. I've already got this line, so that's fine. I can use that line because that's running through the corner here. Then I can put a vertical line there. And where they all meet, I can put my orthogonal. So now, y'all, I basically have like this. I can erase all these lines I don't need. Okay, so boop. I was just merging so I could show you all at once what this form looks like. So if I copy my outlines here, if it helps you, you could pick a color and you could shade that in. Whoops. If it helps you. Sometimes it's not more helpful. It's just kind of like, I don't think that helps me. But sometimes when it's more solid, it can be helpful. Right? Because you can kind of like see the form. The next bit is kind of easier, I think, because we've already got an idea of what the form's going to look like. So if I drop the opacity down, okay, it's going to help me to keep track of everything. I can see all my lines now. Okay. So now you're just going to do the same process, but on the other side. So I'm just going to make a new layer, change my color. Okay. And so then I'm going to go right corner to corner. Shrink that down in opacity so it's easier for you to see. Where they intersect, I'm going to do that. So now I've created a quarter, and a half. Find the horizontal. The more you do this, the more also you don't have to draw those lines all the way to the vanishing point. Right? Like the better at this you get, the more you know you only need that orthogonal in that space. So then corner to corner. Corner to corner. Vertical. So now I can make a new layer. And on that new layer, I'm gonna draw that which is solid on the, if we have left and right side, I'm gonna draw that which is solid on the right side. Now I'm gonna draw that on the left. I'm gonna use the same color so I can kind of like keep track of things. That's all I'm doing. I'm just picking up a color. Make sure I'm on my new layer. And I'm going to draw the lines that I need. I need that front line there on the top. I need this line, and this line, and this line. I just lost my layer. I'm sorry, everybody, I just lost my layer. I'll just go here, add a new layer, and do it again. Here, and here, here, and here. Okay. I don't necessarily have to draw the back because I'm not going to need it in a little bit. So now you can see I've drawn the same thing on the left side that I have on the right side. So I should now, let's test this. I should be able to pick up an orthogonal from this point on the right side and drag it through that point on the left side, and look, it works. And I should be able to pick up this point here and drag it to the right side, and look, it works. Now, we don't need to do, like, we do need to do from the right to the left up there, but you see it's like right on the horizon line, so that's not going to be that visible. So y'all, that's what we have so far. Oh, that red line's on that layer. Guess I don't need this anymore. Get rid of that now. Now we have this. So we have two layers, that layer, and we have this layer. So then let's figure out, let's turn back on some things that we need. We need that and that. Okay, so we can go back to the layer we're drawing on. And we kind of actually, if you look, we can see that this point is going to create, oh, I need to use my pen. I need to turn that on. If I pull this over, it's going to basically hit that center line. And so we already have that part of that solution done. And then this is going to be an orthogonal. I'm slightly off somewhere here. I hate when I get slightly off. Oh, nope, I was lying. I forgot. Watch. That would be if we did the half, but we didn't. We actually need to go down all the way down here because, aha, we're doing a bigger landing. And old Professor Vaughan here forgot that. But now that we have that line, we can just pull this line, and then where they intersect is going to give us the next one. So we no longer have to do the half by half by half on the other side. We can use what we've already built and just drag the layers. Just drag the orthogonals between the layers, and we're going to be able to build the other side without doing all the dissection. Now, doing the dissection is always going to give you much more accurate results, but this should work. So now I'm going to pick up my orthogonal and I'm going to pull it for that bottom edge. And then I have a vertical line where they meet. Same thing again, orthogonal. And then you're going to pull an orthogonal to the right vanishing point where they meet. And it's okay if you do your line too long, you can always just go back. And erase your line if you need to.
I think that my, you know, the longer step, I think that mine was too close to the horizon line, so I can't exactly see it from above like yours.
Yeah, no problem. If it's that,
Okay.
if that's what's happening, that's what's happening. You can see that my second to last step there is almost exactly on the horizon line, so you can barely see any of it.
Do you want to take a look just to make sure that I'm doing this correct?
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah, looks rad.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And you can always check, like, I don't know, maybe I should check to make sure that I don't need an orthogonal up here. I don't think I do. It's above the horizon line. Oh, I do. Look, just a hair, just a wee little bit of a step. So you see, I would see just the tiniest little part of that. Look. If it was any higher or any lower, we wouldn't see any of it. You know, it's so close, you know. It's like when I got caught smoking when I was 11. I almost got away with it. If only the cigarette butt had flushed down the toilet. Would have been great. Yeah. Last song I heard before I was busted for smoking at 11, "The Rhythm Is Gonna Get You" by Miami Sound Machine. Laura, I think we're the only ones, you know.
I think so too.
You can buy 2 packs of cigarettes for $3 back then. Don't smoke, it's really bad, honestly. I quit smoking 21 years ago and I still want to smoke all the time. Same goes for vaping.
That's scary. They don't know what that's doing. Popcorn lung or something. Oof.
Yeah, there's no idea what that's going to do to kids. But, you know, you'll figure it out. when I got busted by my dad, because my dad smoked a lot, he just kept making me smoke to see if he could make me sick. And I was just like, well, this is kind of nice. I just get to hang out and smoke with my dad. His cigarettes were much better than mine. You had to go to the bowling alley for mine, you know. All right, so off topic as always, Vaughan. And so the next one is easy. Look, we're just gonna say, all right, so I already understand all of the principles. I'm just gonna drag that orthogonal over there. Vertical line. Okay. Orthogonal over there. Orthogonal to the back. Vertical line on the front. Orthogonal. And turn that off. Now look, we have some stairs. Yay! Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? What's great about understanding, right? Like the thing that like I think is exciting about perspective is like once you see it done, you're like, well, it's not that complicated. That makes sense. And that's what's cool about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that layer and we're going to merge it down with that layer. So now all we have is just stairs. they look a bit funny floating out in the world. So we could always draw the horizon line in there. Yeah, then you could say, well, let's have a path. Okay. So let's add some value. So value is relative lightness to darkness. I'm going to pick up my eyedropper. I'm going to pick up that value that we put down on the back edge. Okay, so it's the hue doesn't really matter because we're not going to be dealing with color. The saturation, we're going to take that down to 0. And it says right now that the light is at 50. Okay. So let's take that number and then let's just go lighter, lighter, lighter to just about 60. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't stress. And then I'm gonna just fill in, I hope, each of the front edges of the steps. Now, if you've taken design with me, you would know that you could now probably have enough information here to erase that contour there. And your brain would probably actually make that a step without you having that contour edge because of closure. Also, what would be functioning would be proximity. The proximity of all these forms together look like they are stairs. So your brain would put it together, say, hey, that's stairs, that is. So then we're going to take our light and we're just going to add, let's just go a little bit higher up to like 75, 77, whatever. And then we're going to add that with the fill bucket tool to each one of those top steps. Ooh, look at that, I'm silly. If we look, this little one here needs to be the same as the other little one. And the only thing here that's going to get filled is this little tiny area. And that's going to be that very tiny top step, top of that step. Top of the step too, yeah. All right. Oh, it accidentally filled in. There we go. Oy. Kind of fun. Okay, so that was all fun. Everyone had a blast. Okay, we stepped up, we got it done. Stepped up. Sorry. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, ha ha ha, is this. Take that layer, okay, and let's go ahead and make a duplicate layer and turn that one off. Now we should have a line drawing in there. So if we go and we just take white, we should still have our line drawing in there. So let's just go ahead and fill in the new layer. Let's just get rid of all the values. So we just have that.
Wait, sorry, can you show how you got rid of the color again?
Sure. I just made a new copied the layer with the color. And then I just used my white paint. I just used the paint bucket tool and I just put it to white and just filled it. Same thing, except for instead of using gray, I'm just using white. So I was here. Okay, so here I was. I made a new layer. I put my paint bucket tool to white. I just used the eyedropper and picked up the white. And then I just started filling in. And all my lines should be protecting the drawing. Now it's white. And then I just took a pencil and I just, or the eraser, I just erased any little bits and bobs that were left. And I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to go just with black. So when you're ready, we're just going to get rid of all the saturation, all of the light.
So my, on the side, when I use the bucket to fill it up, I use the same color as I used to do the contour. So now, like, if I use the white, it's not working.
Oh no, okay, well just quickly retrace your contour with the perspective tool on.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody else is probably doing the same thing right now.
When I duplicate the filled in colored version of the stairs, and I try to fill it in with white, it makes the whole entire screen white.
Okay, so just make a new layer and retrace your contours and just make a new contour drawing.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, whatever process you want to do to get to this point is perfect. We just take, give us until like 12:23. Okay, about ready? All right, next step, everybody. What we're going to do now is we are now going to be looking at and focusing on value. Okay, so value is the relative lightness or darkness of a form. And what we're going to be doing is, like, we've already done value, right? Like, this is value. We've already done value when we used this. This is a value-based drawing. We used the fill bucket. We picked gray values, values that had no saturation of color, so they were completely void of color. And then we had no, you know, like whatever we picked, 50% light, 40% light, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're going to do, go ahead and take this layer that you made with the values on it, that one, grab your tool and just move it over. I don't know, we need it to fit, so we could even shrink it if we want. Perfect. Okay, we're just going to use it for reference. So we used 3 values on that layer. We used this value, which the computer tells us is, it's got a little bit of saturation in it, so it's got a little bit of color, but it should be at 0. So the computer tells us that between, if black is 100 and white is, sorry, if black is 0 and white is 100, that this is about 50%. And so then the computer tells us then that this one is 60% ish. Okay, don't care about the 1 right now. And that this top piece here is about 75%. So on a scale, right, of 100, where black is 0, you can see I can slide my slider down, so black is now 0. And pure white is 100. Obviously, I won't be able to write 100 because you won't see it. So I'm going to write it in black. K is for black. Okay. So between 0 and 100, the lightest is 75%. The next darkest is 60%, and our darkest dark is at 50%. Okay. And we represented that by filling in those values. So now what we're going to do is we are, and I'm going to get rid of all that because we don't want it all there. We are now going to try to replicate those values without using the paint bucket tool. Okay. We are actually going to use the pen tool. And I want you to put your pen at like something like, it can be 1. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Looks pretty good. Okay. And there's different types of ways to use line quantitatively to design to tell us where what a value is. I've not had any coffee today because I get so anxious to fly, and I don't need coffee. But now I'm like, oh, voice, mouth, speaking, words, no caffeine. Okay. So we're going to use the first one. We're going to use is directional line, and this is just for fun. We're going to use lines that go in just one direction quantitatively to fill in the value of this side. Okay, so go ahead and fill in the value. What you're going to do is you're going to squint your eyes. And when you squint your eyes, it increases the contrast and it allows you to see the value more clearly. So when I squint my eyes, I can see, am I using enough lines to match the value that I created? So does this quantity of line here equal that value? If it's too dark, I need less lines. If it's too light, I need more lines. Okay. And what is happening here is the balance between the amount of white that is coming through and the amount of black that you are drawing on. You want to try to bring your lines right up to the contours of the forms that you draw. That will really help you to create a drawing that feels solid. Now try not to overlay the lines too much because of course when you do that, you're building more quantity and it will get darker. Now I did this yesterday on the desktop and it was rough. Okay, totally admit it. Okay, so if you end up getting a little sloppy because you're on the desktop, I understand. Okay. So this is directional line, and we picked the angle of that line simply just because I thought it would look pretty. I like pretty things. Now, line can also be directional in a way that defines form. And so we're going to do the same thing now, but on the front step. So here's the value we're trying to match. We're going to use vertical lines. And just do your best on the desktop. I know it's hard. It's okay. This is your in-class drawing. And like I say, it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be finished. It's just showing me that you're getting the information. And again, I don't do a lot of comments on those. I just check them. If you're really struggling, I'm going to give you some comments. Okay. But mostly it's just like if we were in the classroom, I would just actually be able to see your easel and I would know if you were participating or not, right? And I can't really do that online. So when I squint my eyes, I can say, okay, does this amount of line I used here match that? Does this amount match that? And is the relationship between those two amounts correct? I think I could almost go a little bit darker on this side. It's like that. Now, inside your eyeball, right? Like inside, you have your eyeball. It's got the cilia in it, and it's got the iris and the pupil. So the way that you see value is that inside your lens, you've got cones, you've got rods. Cones see color, the rods see light and dark. And so what happens is at night, your rods are more active and your cones are less active. And so you can see light and dark better at night. So you've also got more rods in the periphery of your eye than in the center. The center is mostly cones. So you can see color better when you look straight at it than in the periphery. And so like the cones, like they vibrate as color penetrates them, red, green, and blue. And so with the rods, because they see value better with less light, by squinting your eyes, you're actually activating them more. And that's really helpful. It's always so hard to convince everyone that squinting their eyes when they look at value is a good thing. But remember, you're the only person I'm the only person that can see your face probably. And also you're probably in a room by yourself. So like if you feel silly, don't. Okay. So squint your eyes and it will really help you see the values. Okay. So now we're going to do the next value. Okay. And so we'll go back to my pen. And I'm going to match that here. Try not to scribble. Scribble's a different type of mark. We're not doing scribbling. Try to bring your lines right up to the edge of your contour. Sometimes when you're drawing on paper, which you will be doing for your homework, you can actually take a piece of printer paper and like lay it so that the printer paper is against that edge. And then you can draw off of the paper and it will give you a nice hard edge. Don't draw up to the paper though, because you'll pick up the paper. But if you draw over the paper edge onto your drawing, then you're going to get a nice clean edge. So that's something which can be helpful. Because when you're adding the values into these spaces, you want to try to make sure that they're coming to the contours. The idea is that like if I remove the contour drawing, will I still have a dimensional functional form? That's what we want. Of course, we're working digitally, so we can cheat too. But for your homework, you're not going to be able to work digitally. So for your homework, you're going to use if you've taken design, you should have some drawing pens. If you haven't taken design or you don't like drawing, then you probably don't. And so then you can just use a ballpoint pen. Preferably it would be black. Okay. But if it's blue, that will be okay. Just black is better. We're just going to do a couple of these stairs. We're not going to do all of them because it will take all class. It's okay to diversify your line, but don't change the direction too much. So then the other steps, these ones, we're going to kind of just follow the angle of the step. It needs to be lighter. Now you could turn the perspective guide on to do this, because they could also be orthogonals. But they don't have to be perfect orthogonals to still read as value. So go ahead and work on that for a few minutes. Okay. Here we go. Okay. A lot of what we're doing, y'all, like with the ellipses and the cylinders, like you're gonna have a lot of practice because it's gonna become part of the stuff that you will have to draw. Okay. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I don't understand the like ellipses yet. Like you're gonna get to draw more cylinders. Okay. It will be part of like what we do. And so it will start to help to make sense because you do it more. Okay, go ahead, and we're just going to use the tool, the perspective tool, and basically we just need the horizon line. So we're going to move that up. I don't care where you put the vanishing point because you're going to turn it off. I'm just using it as an easy way to get a nice straight line. Okay. Boop. I might share this part of the lecture with the other class because they didn't get something like this, and I think it might actually help them. You know, I don't. I think they might enjoy being able to have some additional help. Sadly, that wasn't straight, was it? There we go. That looks better. Okay, grab your circle tool. It's a bit low. Somewhere kind of closer to the horizon line. There we go. Go ahead and put a circle. Okay. So now let's go down here. Do I want to do that? It seems like it would be fun. Let's just do like, let's do a bit of fake charcoal drawing. No, let's not. We're just gonna stay with the pen. Be good, Professor Vaughan, be good. Okay, gonna be good. All right, go ahead and go. We're gonna go to 0 saturation, and let's just go ahead and go to like a 50 of light, okay? And turn on your paint bucket tool, and let's go ahead and make, let me see how dark that looks. It's kind of, oh, it disappeared to the background. For me, I can't do 50 because it's going to disappear to the back of my sketchbook app, so you won't be able to see it. So I can't do 50. Let's go. I'm going to go up higher. Let's go to the 76, something like that. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Then let's go up to like 87 and do like that. Looks good. Okay. And then let's just stop there. You're going to make a new layer. Okay. And we're going to add values to the sphere. we're going to pull our light. Oops, sorry, pardon me, I'm still on. We're going to pull our light from the top right corner. Okay. And so that's going to give us predictable light logic. So I'm going to go all the way down to black. So 0 saturation, 0 light. Okay. And so the first thing I know is that when I have a light logic coming from the top right corner, it's going to create a shadow on the left, and it's going to be like an ellipse. Okay. So I'm going to kind of do this elliptical shadow shape. Okay. It's an ellipse because of perspective. Right? We can say, well, maybe there's a vanishing point back there, whatever. Okay. But it's also an ellipse because of the way that light bends. If I move my lamp really close, say I've got a lamp and I move it right here. Okay, and it shines light down, then that shadow is going to be like tiny. It might even be almost completely invisible. The further away the light source from the sphere, the larger the shadow. And there's kind of like a place where you have a closed shadow where it has a form like this. But then imagine if you move the light all the way from the sphere, then the shadow would probably have no closed contours at all because the light would be so far away, and it would bend around the sphere, and the light would interact with the shadow and dissolve the shadow. Okay. Hence the Earth and the sun. Huh?
I'm trying to fill in the background with the bucket, but it keeps filling in the circle too.
Just make a new layer, make a horizon line, and just try that.
Right.
It might be the tolerance that you have
Yeah.
the thing set to.
What's that?
So if you click on the paint bucket,
Mhm.
Asia, if you click on the paint bucket,
Yeah.
then like on the app, there's like a little slider. You want to take the tolerance all the way down to 1.
Got it.
If you're on the desktop, put it on 1.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that work?
Let me try real quick. 1 second. Yeah, it works. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. When the tolerance is higher, what it's doing is like it's picking up the white that's inside the color, basically, and it's filling that in as well.
Got it. Thanks.
And so, oh, sorry. And so, thanks, Mom. And so when the light is coming through the space, right, and the closer the light source is to the sphere, then it changes the contour of the cast shadow. And because the light is coming from the upper right side, it's going to cast a shadow towards the left. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about the way, oh, okay, I still got this on. We're going to think about how does light interact on the sphere now. Okay. So the upper left area is going to remain light because that's where our light is coming from. And it's actually going to kind of be hitting sort of an area in sort of this space here, right? And if I draw a little thing in here and I do that and I do, there's the like the Death Star, right? And there's the rebels. And sorry, doodling. So the light is coming down and it's hitting like a space inside there. Okay, and we're going to leave that as the lightest space. Okay, so then this will be our sort of like our highlight. Okay, then the next area will be light, and that's going to be just light. And then we start moving towards darkness. That's the midtone. And then we get a dark band. Usually we call it the core of the shadow. So you can kind of think about this area here being shadow. And then this down here, we're going to get that reflected light again. And then there's actually also usually reflected light in the shadow. And then we get the cast shadow. Okay. So the Impressionists taught us that shadows aren't black. And everyone laughed at them. And they said shadows, the shadow of snow is not blue. And they made fun of them, and the word impressionism was an insult. And they were just considered to be like completely making up stuff. Well, now we know that we can measure light and shadows, and if there's a shadow and it's snowing, the shadow has a lot of blue in it. And so like the reality is that one of the biggest things that the Impressionists did was they took darkness and showed how darkness was full of color and light. And so like when you look at a shadow, shadows are hardly ever black. They're nearly always full of light. Now, is it darker than the light that's on the surface of the sphere? Yes. But it's probably not going to be jet black. Okay? And that's important for us to think about. So let's go ahead and take our little sections here, and let's apply value to them with the pen. All right? And so what I would like to do really is just quickly go back and get rid of all the writing and stuff. So we're about here. Now, one of the things you kind of don't want to do is make really dark lines anywhere you're going to put value, because they're always going to be there. So let's go ahead and begin with thinking about like, all right, well, how do I show this light? How do I talk about it? Well, if I did directional line and I went left to right like that, I could do that. But the sphere might in the end feel a bit flat. So we're going to kind of think about that cross contour line. Okay. And we're going to say, all right, so like the sphere itself has a shape, and I can feel that shape. And so I'm going to start to apply my quantitative lines. And it's okay for those lines to kind of change direction a little bit. You see how mine are kind of going up a little bit? Think about the shape of a sphere. What does it feel like? And try to feel that shape. Now, as you come into the light area, just kind of go in with a broken line. Do you see? So a broken line is lines that are broken. Now, like we said down here, we're going to have some darkness. I'm changing directions because I'm thinking about the flatness of the table or the surface or whatever it is that I'm drawing on. This is kind of a cross contour line. Okay. So light is brightest up here. And then it gets sort of darker, 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 darker. Then at the end, it gets a little bit brighter. So now let's do like a cross hatching. So that now our lines are going to go across the lines we drew. Again, following the form. Now what happens, if you think about it, is that like when it gets to the center of the sphere, they can change direction like that like you were holding an apple and feeling that apple. So if I have a sphere, if I looked at the planes of a sphere, I could say, well, those ones are going to go that way because they're going to the left. And these ones are going to go this way because they're going to the right. And these ones are going to go up because they're going to the top. And these ones can come downwards because they're going towards the bottom. And so we can think about that. We say, all right, well, what is that going to feel like? And you'll notice that one of the things I've done here, y'all, is like I've put like an overall value down. Like I'm not drawing section by section. I'm kind of saying, okay, so now this value here, that value is now going to become my light to midtone. So through the core shadow area, so it's going to get darker in here, I'm going to start to layer more lines. So quantitative mark making, the more lines there are, the darker it's going to appear. So we want it to get darker through here. So I'm going to build up my lines. Now, where the sphere comes in contact, which is right underneath that reflected light, it's going to be a pretty dark shadow line there. Remember, lines are ideas, and so that's a placeholder. It's telling us that the sphere is in contact with the surface. So in here, I'm just building up cross contour with cross hatching. Like that. And in the center, it's going to be darkest. Okay. Now, the reason we shaded the area around the sphere is because value is relative. So if I like take that away, you can see how the values sort of appear to change. Okay. And so value is relative. So like if I have a square and it has this value in it and it's surrounded by white, it's going to look dark. But if I have that square and I surround the square with darkness, well, now the square looks light. And so value is relative. The way that you surround, the values that are surrounding another value affect the way you read the value. Okay. Questions with the process? Okay. So you can see, you can then start to activate space with line. So I do directional line over here. And by changing directions, you can also increase the awareness of like the differences in planes.
Do you want us to draw that?
No, I'm just playing.
Okay.
Just showing. See? Okay, so go ahead and we'll take a quick 5-minute break. We're going to end class in about 35, 40 minutes. Okay, so go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break and we're going to come back. And so go ahead, upload that work, please, to the discussion board. And I'm going to talk to you about your homework. Okay, here we go. So what we're going to do for your homework is do you the other class had choices. Do you all want choices?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, they're
That
both
sounds
hard,
good.
so you know. One isn't easier than the other. Okay, the first choice is so there's 2 like handouts that everyone has to do no matter what. Those are going to be due on Saturday for your class. And then there's 2 projects, 2 like over the weekend long drawing projects, right? So the first one, which I'm just going to describe to you, if you choose to do that, you're like really on your own. I'm going to give you some requirements that you have to hit, like benchmarks. but like it's a little bit more advanced than like what we were doing in class. Okay. So the first choice you can do would be a 2-point perspective fantasy city with sketchbook. Okay. Like what we did with 1 point, you're going to do with 2 point. So that means you return a Word document that has, you know, a layer with all your dissection lines on it, and then a layer that's just your contour, okay? And then a layer that you fill in. And so the information on that is, I'm going to put it into announcement for you. Pardon me, you have to include in the digital 2-point drawing. And so it's advanced because we haven't done that digitally, but you've done the 1 point and you've played around with 2 point, and it's basically the same process when you do the 2 point as the 1 point in terms of the digital drawing. Okay. In terms of like what makes it hard, well, you've got 2 points, which we've been playing with, but you haven't played with it very much. And so that might, you know, that might be confusing. But on your 2-point drawing, if you decide to do the digital 2-point perspective drawing, you have to have at least 4 buildings of different heights, 2 roads with sidewalk sections, lines in the roads, telephone poles, and you have to include at least 1 monster. Okay?
Wait, are you serious?
Yes, I'm totally serious.
How would you define a monster in this situation?
Now I'm going to be really good here and not be political. How would I define a monster? A monster could be, okay. I have a thing that I do in color design, and students ask me questions about like what to do, and I will just respond like, you could do that, could do, and that's like all I give. So that's all I'm going to give you. What is a monster? Okay. And think about it, right? Like it could be a painted monster on the side of a building. Or it could be like a Godzilla like smashing through. It could be a flying monster. I don't know. So don't spend 6 hours on the monster and 40 minutes on the perspective. Okay, the monster is the fun part, right? So you're adding the monster. Okay. The other one that we're going to do is a lesson that I have like I've actually like made. Okay. In the sense of like I've done it a lot of times, and there's lots of handouts and lots of information, and I have tons of examples, right? But it's also challenging. So that one is based on the illustrations of Edward Gorey. So Edward Gorey is the announcement I'm about to post. Everybody doesn't have any links in it yet. It will do in a few minutes, okay? But it doesn't have any links in it yet. I'm just posting it so I don't forget. Edward Gorey is an American illustrator, and they say that the person who killed Edward Gorey in the social zygote, the way that people think about art and illustration and children's books and literature and writing and storytelling, is the person who killed his work was Lemony Snicket. So you all know who Lemony Snicket is, I would imagine. Lemony Snicket wrote the series of misfortunate events, which are, you know, I think very great little books, very fun little books. So Edward Gorey is a American illustrator, and his work, he did like operas, he did like cartoons, he did like children's books, adults books, all kinds of stuff. And it was mostly white and black pen drawing. And it was very much influenced by Victorian visual language. So I'm going to share my screen here. Can you all see the handout okay? Yeah, okay. So this is like an Edward Gorey drawing. So Edward Gorey, this is from a book he has about this little creature that won't go away, and it's always everywhere. So things you're gonna notice about Edward Gorey is like people are dressed like Victorians. Okay, if you want to know about really, really strange Western culture people, the Victorians were bizarre. Okay, they just were bizarre. And they had some really, a lot of what they believed in terms of like morality still affects us today. It's still part of contemporary culture. So one of the things about the way that Edward Gorey draws is with all this line work is that you can see that this is just a value-based drawing, and he's using a black pen, and he's creating all these values through a variety of different approaches, whether it's cross-hatching or directional line or broken line, okay, cross contour. And so his drawings are like really linear, but also because they're nearly always Gothic in the sense of like a Gothic tale. So if you think about like Gothic writing, you can think about the most famous Gothic stories, the first one being Frankenstein and the second one being Dracula. Okay. And so, we're talking about the macabre, we're talking about the spiritual world in some cases. So here he is. Okay. And so a lot of his illustrations are based on Victorian mourning practices and Victorian mourning sort of needleworks and paintings. And so one of the things that's really cool about Victorian visual language is that they had a sort of a system of information that you could kind of always count on when we were talking about like mourning and death. So you're going to see a lot of urns. You're going to see weeping willows. Okay. And then also you'll see that, everyone's wearing black. So a lot of what we know about the Victorian period, we know about because of like their mourning practices. So the Victorian period is named after Queen Victoria, right? And she was the British monarch who ruled at sort of like the height of the British colonist empire. And not only was she the queen, but she was also the highest point of fashion. So whatever she did, everybody did if they could afford it. And when her husband, who would have been somebody, I don't remember, King George, maybe, can't remember, when her husband died, she went into mourning, and it was really typical for women to mourn for 2 years, and she spent the rest of her life in mourning. And the rules were really strict. So if you were a woman and you were in mourning, then you had to wear all black, and the material that you wore had to be the most uncomfortable material that you could wear. It had to be itchy, and it had to be uncomfortable. Women tend to be, were expected to mourn for at least 2 years wearing uncomfortable material and all black. Men were given about 6 months, and they could wear any material they wanted, but it had to be black. After a woman's mourning period of like 2 years, she could change to different colors. First, it was like she could go to like purples and like softer materials, and then slowly she could work towards blues, and then eventually she got to get out of mourning. Okay. So you're going to see this sort of high neck collar, sort of black dress, sort of figurine in a lot of Edward Gorey's work. Now, one of the things that I find fascinating, right, is that like Gory has an amazing way to show both dimensionality and flatness simultaneously. So the way that this pattern is on this vase or urn or whatever, it should be bending and moving with the form, and it's not. He just drew it very flat, like it was projected. And then he gave us this like contour line, but it's the relationship between this pattern and that wallpaper that gives the space dimensionality. Okay, so Gory is playing with both dimensionality and flatness simultaneously and employing just a ton of visual texture and line weight. Victorians were also, of course, very well known for their hair art. Okay, and so you've seen my work, so you know I'm fascinated with hair. They had hair jewelry. They would take the hair of a deceased loved one and make a wreath with it and display it in the home. They would take the hair of a deceased loved one and they would make like a little like diorama with like a little graveyard with their hair and a weeping willow. And it was very fashionable for people to work with hair, so much so that there were special tables in the home, in the drawing rooms, where women would work with hair. Eventually it became like an industry and they would just mass produce hair jewelry. But in the beginning, it was very much about like this mourning period. And so some of these tapestries, so if we look at this tapestry, we can see that there's like, you know, look at all these figurines, right? And they look kind of like the figures that we see in the Gory drawings. And then again, we have the urn and we have the weeping willows. So your goal for the assignment is to use the style of Edward Gorey to create a 1-point perspective drawing. Now you can see why the black pen would be useful here. But again, if you don't have black, that's okay. A drawing pen like a micron pen is going to work better than a marker. Marker is just going to bleed, so I would stay away from markers. Ballpoint pen will work well, but it's harder to get like crisp lines with a ballpoint pen. But I don't want you to buy anything, okay? If all you have is a ballpoint pen, then that's fine, okay? So one of the things too that you'll see is throughout the packet, I made you all these rhymes, okay? Because Edward Gorey would make a lot of rhyming books. And so please read this packet. This took me like 20 hours to make this packet for you, okay? And I've used it since 2018 because it took so long to make, but I really think it's a great little packet. Everybody has to do this page, okay? No matter whether you do the 2-point drawing or the Edward Gorey drawing, everybody has to do this page. This is a page for us to practice directional line on. So you can do it digitally. So you can just take a picture of this page and bring it into Sketchbook and then erase the arrows and draw the lines on digitally, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to draw the lines in the directions of the arrows to explore the dimensionality of the forms through quantitative line application. This one in the end should look really dimensional. This one, we're purposely going to flatten some of the space so it should look less dimensional. Because in your drawing, you can decide to either flatten space or make space extremely dimensional. Okay. So everybody has to do this page. And then everyone has to do this page again, do it digitally. Just fill in the value chart with the pen to match those values up there.
And so we're making a digital document with like the triangle, the prism and the rectangle and
Yeah.
these, yeah, all of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Besides,
I'm just trying to, right. I'm just trying to make it easy for you so that you don't have to like print this out and draw on it and then take a picture and upload it. Yeah. So these two pages, just take pictures of them, screenshots, and bring them into Sketchbook and just fill them in. And those are the only 2 pages I want you to do from this packet.
Okay. Should we freehand it or can we use like the lines? Freehand?
I'd rather you freehand.
Okay.
Okay. So then here, same thing, create a value chart, kind of follow mine, but the lines don't have to match my lines, that you just want to match the values. So this is an example of a student work. Okay, and what you're going to do is you can either take one of the 1-point drawings that you've already done that you did for your continuous line spaces and like finish it and make it into a nice 1-point drawing, or you can pick a new space to make a 1-point drawing from. Okay, it should be 1 point. Okay, I actually think this one, I think she broke the rules actually looking at it. I think it's I think they did 2-point. I should talk to them about that. But anyway, this is a student example. I have lots of other ones to show you. So you have to follow the style of Edward Gorey. It has to be only value based. Okay, so again, if you are using like a blue ballpoint pen, that's fine, but you can't use blue and red. It has to be like just one color to describe value. And you have to include at least 3 bats. All right, Edward Gorey put bats into everything. And so here we can see that Seraphim, and they just graduated from UW with honors in art. They put bats in as wallpaper. Okay, so you get to be imaginative. Okay, so here are the directions. You're going to start by, I would first, I'd go back and look at the 1-point drawings that you did. I'd pick my favorite, and I would spend like an hour like making a really nice 1-point drawing. I don't want you to do it digitally. Okay, so you're going to need a ruler and pencil, and you're going to basically create what we do on the sketchbook app, but with a ruler and pencil. If you get lost, I went and counted them. There's 104 gazillion videos on YouTube on how to do perspective with a ruler. Okay, I might be off. It might be 100 and gazillion and 3. I don't know. There's so many. Just go watch one. All right. But it's the same thing we've been doing on sketchbook, but with a ruler and paper. So you're going to cut a piece of paper that you have. So your paper is 24 by 18. The final size should be 14 by 11. And then I would make a really nice solid 1-point perspective drawing that I know where everything is and it looks really good. I understand the perspective. I wouldn't add any value to it. I would just work it up so it looks rad. Okay. And then what I would do is I would use that as my guide and I would make a new one on the final paper, recreate it again, and then start adding my value. Okay, so it tells you to like, you use a ruler. Okay, make sure the perspective is correct. Okay, then you're just going to apply lines and textures. You have to include at least 3 bats. And if you want, you can include a ghostly figure. You must include a rhyme. And one of the letters in the rhyme should be a capital letter and it should be in 2-point perspective. I would do that digitally and then copy what I did digitally by hand. You know what I mean? Like I would use the computer to do the letter. How do you do letters? Start with a box and 2-point perspective. Dissect the box corner to corner. Find the center of the box. Everything we've already done. The only difference is that instead of doing stairs, you're doing a letter. Okay. This right now sounds overwhelming. Y'all can do this. I'm not a professor that asks students to do the impossible. Okay, but I'm gonna up the challenge here. Okay, we've been going along. I feel like we've been doing pretty like straightforward stuff. I'm gonna slightly increase the challenge here. Okay, so here's where they're gonna have a little things that are a little bit off because I haven't done this project in 2 years. But you've got your mixed media paper, and then I haven't given you a pen. So you have to just use a pen. Find a pen, okay? Like here's a cup. It's full of pens. It's also got scissors in it. So like find a pen that you're gonna use. Your perspective, you have to have a 1-point perspective. You can kind of ignore that it comes from your sketchbook because you don't have a sketchbook. It's got to have lines, it's got to have textures, it's got to have values, it has to have 3 bats, and it has to have 1 rhyme. Okay. So let's look at some student examples. And those of you who are in interior design, I've had instructors over there tell me how much they love this project. So I'm really excited to give you a chance to sort of show some chops, but please don't make this like I mean, I'm gonna sort of be a little like, you know, kind of teasy here, but don't make it look like a project board. Okay. When I went to school, they always pitted like our instructors would like make the illustrators and the fine artists like fight each other. So like we'd go to class and they would be like, you don't want to be an illustrator, you want to be a painter, and don't let those illustrators tell you what to do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just like, it's the way I tell photographers that photography isn't art, you know, it's just a thing. Okay. So these are some examples for you. So this is a student's drawing that she made of her staircase. And then this is her finished work. Isn't that cool? Okay. Now I'm going to be really honest with you. Most of these drawings, they did not come to me on the first due date, and I was happy. I made them go back. Okay. This student just graduated from UW as well. So they use these 3, like that's like a mobile, right, of bats. I really like the floor that they did down here. So good. This one's fun. Just their bedroom.
Do you think that, like, you could give us any like guides on how to do the lines? Like, I can see that they did very different kinds of lines than we did. Like this dresser, for example. Look at the wood; it was really nice.
You're gonna do
Ready?
every single person in class has to do one more assignment I have for you, and it's about textures.
Okay.
Okay. So you're gonna get to explore some different textures. Okay. But yeah, like wood grain, like scribbling, stippling.
Are those eyes underneath the bed?
They are.
That's terrifying. That's so cool.
This student, it was so funny because when they did it, I said, "Is that ET?" I didn't think they would know who ET was, and they were like, "Yeah, that's ET." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then we had to work further on ET because it wasn't quite right, but you know, they really liked ET apparently. But like this drawing, y'all, this perspective is not all correct. Okay. But it's still functioning because they're convincing us that it's working. And one of the reasons that I pick Edward Gorey for this is because if you look at some of his perspectives, they're not all correct. And so like I like that because it gives you some freedom.
It seems like they like been drawing places from their houses. Should we do that too, or we can draw whatever we want?
It has to be somewhere you physically. I want you to always draw from life.
A physical place. Okay.
Yeah. This student, this was the best drawing they did all quarter. Like they had struggled so much, and then we did this drawing, and they just kept coming to me for more help. You know, I graded it, I critiqued it, and they took it back and they worked on it further and they brought it back to me and they said, I really want to make this right. And so we just kept working on it. I don't know, little creepy children without eyes. This one I just really have always liked. The student's bus ride to school. It seems like I'm always en route because of the long commute. You can be inventive and exploratory. This one, I'm okay with this one. I think it's a good one. This is a little too project boardy for me. But I like how they were doing things, you know, like the ghosts.
That's like
Yeah.
totally a Starbucks too.
It is a Starbucks. But then they have like these little bats in the pastry box.
Yum.
And then this student, I've lost track of them, but they took a lot of my classes and they were really a really strong student. And I'm sad that I've lost track of them. I don't know where they've gone. But this was a great sort of exciting one. Okay, so there's some examples, all right? So the other thing that you all have to do is actually it's not that difficult. And I need to just dump these into your class. They're not in your class yet. I'm going to dump them in right when we're done teaching here. I'm going to dump them in so you have them. It's called the texture and value packet. And basically this is where you need to do this first because this, well, it's due first. So never mind. But this is where you get to practice your different textures, Gabriella, that you're asking about. Okay. So the assignment's really easy. You're going to basically follow the instructions to create 9 squares of different types of lines and textures. Okay. Now, there's one small little difference. And that is that it tells you to use your sketchbook and instead you're going to use your mixed media pad. Okay. That's the only difference. And some of the names of the pencils are different, but you can figure that out. You can use any pencils you want. Okay. So go through, and so it says like use your layout pencil. You don't have a layout pencil. I think they gave you ebony pencil this time. So you're just going to use your different pencils that you have. Okay. And so then you're going to grab a piece of your mixed media paper and you're going to do 9 squares. It should be 3 rows by 3 columns. You do the math. Okay. So then you're going to basically just go through the packet. Please go through it. It's the illustrations are from the graphic novel From Hell by Alan Moore, and they're just amazing illustrations. And so go through and read the information I gave you. Okay. And then when you get to the end, once it loads, boop, 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 boop. Oh, you can do a toe or a finger if you want, but it's not required. You're going to do this. Okay. So on a big sheet of paper, 18 by 24, you're going to create 9 boxes. It's 3 by 3. You do the math. And you're going to recreate textures that are similar to these, but that are not these. These are my textures. Okay. I want you to use them as influence, but I'm not asking you to draw every line by line. I just want you to use these to influence the ones you do. And basically, you're just going to practice different textures in your mixed media pad. Okay. They should be quantitative. So that means that they are quantitative. There's, you know, they're numerical. The more there are, the darker it's going to be. The less there are, the lighter it's going to be. Okay. So you can practice. So this would be a great place. Like say in your room, you have some wood grain. You could play around in one of these to do wood grain and see how it works. And so then you're just going to take a picture of your 9 squares and upload it to the assignment. Okay. And these will be due on Saturday, and then the other work will be due on Tuesday. So the problem with things getting more fun is that that means they also have less restriction. You know, and I think that as students, it's nice to have like, you know, it's easier when you have every single thing given to you that you know exactly, right? But I'm gonna up your challenge here and give you a little bit of, you know, stuff I haven't really fed you yet. I'm gonna challenge you.
I have a quick
I lost
question.
track of all of. Oh, sorry, Anna. Go ahead.
Oh, just about what's due on Tuesday. So we're doing like practicing drawing the space first in pencil on one piece of paper, and then on our final piece of paper, are we using any pencil on that even to start, or are we just going at it with pen?
No, I would draw it first in pencil.
Okay, but then like going in with the textures, would you use that in pencil too? Or just go at
No.
it with pen with the textures?
Only if you don't trust yourself, you know what I mean? Like if you don't trust yourself, but just remember that like that pencil's always going to show up.
Yeah, sure.
And one of the things I would imagine is that at the end, you're going to go, oh, I want to erase that. And you go into erase it and you've got 6 inches of, you know, dots to erase and you start erasing it and you just smudge all your pen. Yeah. Okay. Everyone good? Okay. All right. So it will be a little, because I got to jump in the car and go to the airport. So it'll be a little bit, but I'll upload this video. Okay. But right now I'm going to make sure that your homework is all visible so you can get access to that. Okay.